All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, one of the easiest things to do in order to eradicate any sense of accountability and therefore let yourself off the hook and continue on in a downward spiral that you yourself know you're engaging in and that you're the prime mover of, is to always claim that there is this invisible force that is controlling your future and is going to stop you from succeeding. And that's one of the main problems that the so-called black community has, especially the so-called black man. And it's not all his fault, ironically enough. But we are the ones who are going to have to solve this problem. From our childhoods, many times we're inundated with a lot of this false data about how we have to be scared of the police and scared of all people and scared of white people and everything's going to stop us and hold us down. And unfortunately, many liberal black females have been programmed with this sense of self-worship where they feel like the only person that their child, particularly their male child, should need to look up to is them. And one of the ways in which they try to constantly reinforce this false sentiment is to program their male child with constant fear, trepidation, and intimidation of others. Not all the sisters, but many of the liberal females do that. Because what that does is that constantly leads the young male black child, the so-called black child, back to the mother to constantly show subservience to her, constantly show a sense of veneration of her, which she needs many times because she's frequently incapable of maintaining a relationship with an adult male. But just getting back to the point, I'm a true believer that the sky is the limit as long as you take time to focus on what you want to do and you try to execute a plan in concord with what your gifts are. Sometimes we have a hard time figuring out what we're gifted at, what we like to do, what we love to do. And many times we don't have the proper impetus to move ourselves towards progressing. In other words, we don't want to work for what we get. We have to get rid of this self-victimization mentality. It's destroying us as a people. I'm talking about the so-called black man, of course, the so-called black woman as well, but my channel is geared towards the so-called black man, and we have to be the head of the so-called black woman. And if we don't grasp that, we're not fulfilling our role. I'm bringing all this up because there was a very good moment this past weekend where Deion Sanders, the legendary former cornerback of the Atlanta Falcons and the San Francisco 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys, I believe he also played with the Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Redskins. He has a son who's a top prospect at quarterback. And Deion is fortunate enough to probably be one of the most well-respected former players in the history of the league. And therefore, he can call in a lot of favors. One of the favors he called in was to have Tom Brady instruct his son on playing quarterback. Because once again, Deion Sanders' son is one of the top prospects in the nation at quarterback. And Tom Brady, he put forth a nugget of wisdom that I think was meant to resonate on a multitude of levels. Not just for Deion Sanders' son, but also in light of what I think he perceives to be a lot of self-victimizing that the so-called black man is being encouraged to do by the mainstream media, but he knows that he can't speak on something like that. But Tom Brady, being someone who, of course, even though he came from a relatively successful background, he had to work his way up, at least from a two-dimensional level. From a three-dimensional level, he's a monarch program and he's a Luciferian. I've covered this in other videos. But from a two-dimensional perspective, he had to work his way up from a very non-illustrious football background to get to where he's at. And what he's trying to communicate overall is that you cannot allow your race to be an excuse for your lack of success. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Over the weekend, guys, Tom Brady worked out with Deion Sanders' son, who is going to be a senior high school QB. Afterwards, Brady told him on social media, "You will determine what your future holds."
The reason why Tom Brady told him that was, in other words, don't try to use anything as an excuse. Don't say, I didn't become an NFL quarterback because I'm black, or I didn't make it in the NFL because so many people were envious over the fact that I was Deion Sanders' son, or anything else. You have to keep working at your craft. That's what Tom Brady is trying to communicate to this brother right here. And it's a great message.
Always here for you. Shannon, do you like seeing this?
I love it. He's passing on knowledge. Yep. I mean, there are not very many kids that's going to college. Imagine if you're a wide receiver, you got an opportunity to pick Jerry Rice's brain. If you're a running back, you got to pick an all-time great running back again. And that's what the luxury that he has. That's Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is talking mechanics and throwing the football and footwork and all those things. And so I love seeing that. Tom, say what you want to say about him, but he will not hoard information.
No.
He passes it on, and that's
agree.
a great thing, because Ty would do the same for him. And his son ever wanted to play defensive back, but Tom's son probably going to be a quarterback like his dad. I'm sure he called up Dion.
Oh, I'm sure that Tom Brady's son is going to be a quarterback like his dad. That's if he decides to play in the NFL. I mean, what other position is he going to play? His dad ran about a 6'2" 40, so I mean, the son at best is probably going to run about a 5'3" 40. The only position he's going to be able to play is quarterback.
And he going, hey, this is what you need to do. So I love seeing this.
I got a warm moment from this after a rough weekend. And I loved what Dion posted, because he made the case that there are things in life that a father can't teach a son.
Yep.
But if God is good and you have the will to find it, you can find it.
Yep.
He found it in the GOAT of quarterback.
Right.
The GOAT cornerback found it from the GOAT cornerback.
Yep.
Quarterback, I should say.
Yep.
And remember, Dion's kid is already being recruited by Alabama and LSU and all the top schools.
Yep.
He is legit. And as Dion posted, this was next level type of stuff. Well, it was, because I'm sure he showed him nuances that you just can't. That Dion didn't play quarterback.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
He intercepted a lot of quarterbacks.
Yes.
He made their lives miserable, and he gets how to anticipate them, but he doesn't know exactly the requirements.
The subtle nuances of playing the position. Absolutely right.
So it was very cool to see, and I hope this kid has a great year at Trinity Christian in Cedar Hill, Texas, outside of Dallas. And sounds like Dion's got him a son who's going to go places.
Yeah, y'all know.
And the best thing about Dion's son is that, number one, hopefully he will go places. Number two, he'll take what Tom Brady said to heart and keep pushing and keep going. Because the toughest thing to do in life is figure out what you want to do with your life. Once you figure that out, then everything else becomes elementary. But anyway, peace.